It should be now. It should be live now. And if you can start talking, I will finalize some stuff. Um,
Hi everyone. This is iBookBinding live, number 10, I think already.
11,
Uh,
11. Number 10 was from this Sunday from
so
the
this is number
previous.
11. Yeah. Our last live was even liver than usual because
Livelier. Yeah.
Stepan was streaming from Leiden, from a fair in Petersburg. A few weeks ago, we talked to the organizers, and everything went fine. And now Stepan is back in. Where are you again? In Versailles, yeah. And I come to you from Moscow as usual. Hi,
It should be
Stepan.
now. Hi, Pyro, you're live now. And if you can start talking, and I
I will
hear
finalize
something.
some stuff.
I hear something. Is it coming from you
Hi
or from me?
everyone. No, I don't hear anything out of the
Number
ordinary.
10, I think already.
11.
11.
I
Number 10
I
was
I
from
I
this
feel like I'm
Sunday
insane.
from
So this is number 11. Yeah. What are you hearing? An echo or something?
last
Yeah, I'm hearing
live was
our
even
stream.
liver than
Maybe it's
lively.
playing in one of the windows, in one of the tabs where you have Facebook or YouTube.
Exactly. I hope it didn't stream through.
Okay, so is the psychosis over? Can we start?
Yeah, we can continue. So we are a bit late today, but we hope everything will be fine from now on. And we have announced a central topic for our stream, and it will be something Pavel will present today, but I'll try to to help him at least. And there are some other things we wanted to talk about as well, some news probably, and some more info about some bookbinding fairs and book arts fairs, and we'll return a bit to Bookkunstbörse as well to discuss some of the results of the fair, I guess, and I'll show you some things I brought from there. And let me check our script. How did we plan to proceed? I forgot everything. Um, yeah. So should we start with a snippet from one of the next podcast episodes we plan to share, or what, Pavel? What do you think?
Yeah. Let's do that. It's been a while since we filmed that, and I would very much love to see how it was, because I have some of the warmest memories of that interview. It will be the one with Richard Minsky, right?
Yeah. So
So we should probably say that we filmed it for 3.5 hours. It was quite a blast. Yeah.
yeah, and I hope everyone hears us nicely, but at least on my side, all the audio is going through. So if you are there, please tell us if everything is okay. I think if something was wrong, somebody would already have sent us a comment. But anyway, but firstly, as usual, I wanted to say that we appreciate quite a lot our patrons on Patreon, and if you are willing to join the crowd and help us with a bit of your money, that would be really nice of you. We spend all the money coming from our patrons on editing of these videos, on paying for the editing, so that's really helpful. I mean podcast, not live videos, because live videos we stream as it is. And next, before posting the first part of our talk with Richard Minsky, we're going to post the second part of our discussion with Jay Tanner, a bookbinder and book conservator from the United States, from Kansas City, and he took us for a tour of his garage workshop studio In this second part of the video, we talked about some more books from his collection, some tools of his, and other stuff. So that's a pretty interesting talk, and I hope you all will like it. I will probably post it tomorrow or on Friday. We'll see how it goes. And next week we're going to publish the first chapter of our talk with Richard Minsky, and let me check. I need to share the screen with Pavel first, so that he will also see what we're going to discuss, and then I'll be able to proceed with the video. So you should see everything, or not everything. Jim, when you joined, you posted some links to the binding and talked about NFTs, commented about NFTs. Can you talk a bit more about this object? What part of it is NFT, and how it was envisioned? And
let me do a screen share. That will help. So people who don't know what an NFT is or anything can at least get an idea. Okay, do you see this on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, here are 4 NFTs I've made. This one here is a photo of my book, It Can't Happen Here, of my binding, I should say, on the first edition of Sinclair Lewis's book, which is maybe what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And right now, see if here's the information about it. For example, I made 10 of them, right? It's an edition of 10 of this NFT. None of these actually have the real book go along with it, but I'm thinking about doing it for this book, which is priced, Ian Kahn of Lux Mentis Books has it for sale for $35,000, for example. So I could sell, and I just started talking to him about, should we do this as an NFT, which means someone would pay $35,000 for an NFT, and Ian would mail them the book. It would be that simple. And then I would have to figure out how to do the commission thing and all that on the sale. But it describes it here. And the difference is that one in the description would say includes the actual book that is in the photograph. And that would be the difference. And if anybody's interested in that book, the way to, I guess, learn about it would be to, are you seeing my website here now?
Yeah, I should probably add that during that stream we discussed NFTs in general, and I was curious if digital books could be NFTs, and you replied in the comments and told us that not only digital books can be NFTs, but original bindings could also be NFTs
and that's how you do it.
Yeah, and well,
and I'm just trying to find out where it is, somewhere on this.
And am I right in thinking that if you make something into NFT, you will get a percentage of any future sales, not just of the original one?
Yes, you don't have to take that, but it becomes part of what's called a smart contract. In the case of this one here, if you look at it, when you look at this and its history, you see that it was minted on this date. There's an edition of 10, and there are 10% royalties. That means as part of the smart contract, automatically, when someone buys it, 10% of that, if someone sells it, 10% of whatever they sell it for comes to me. That's what's called a smart contract. Once you you can put whatever amount you want as your royalty. It could be 0, it could be 100%. But 10% I think is kind of a nice, normal kind of royalty. But that's what a royalty is. And that's the nice thing about it for selling artworks. There's not too many other kinds of artwork that you get a royalty for. Anyway, so back to navigating the website. If you go to the chronological catalog where everything is, there's It Can't Happen Here. You'll see there's 3 different versions of it. I did 3 bindings. And here it is. That's my blood and acrylic paint, which is all the same color in this photo that I took at the time I made it. But if you look at a picture of it later on, and where is that picture? Should be a picture of it somewhere later on. You'll see that the blood starts turning brown, and so I did my own blood and matched it with acrylics, and that way, as the blood turns brown, you can tell what's the blood and what's not, over time. But if you don't know the story of why this is covered in 8-point type and blood and Vermont vigilance, you can read what Vermont vigilance is by clicking that, and it explains the story and why what the binding has to do with the metaphors of the book. I'm not going to go into that right now. The key thing is that's the picture that this is of. So if you want to know more about it, there's that link is here along with in the NFT, so that people who don't know what it is can learn more about it.
So here we are. So suddenly, not really suddenly, because NFTs was one of the reasons we planned to discuss with Richard when we invited him. But anyway, suddenly during the discussion with the bookbinder, we switched to talking about NFTs and other things like that, and that was just a small part of our 3-hour talk, and we talked about bookbinding, about book arts, about I don't know, about politics, about centers for book arts. Pavel, are you with us over there?
Yeah.
I just lost you for a moment. So it was an interesting and insightful talk, and we'll start publishing the chapters, the parts of this talk one by one over the next few weeks. We'll see how it goes, and thanks to Richard for joining us for this long recording session. Pavel, did you want to add something? Anything?
I'm remembering that talk, and I remember a moment like 2.5 hours in where I thought, well, surely we can no longer keep our guest. And then I asked him one question about his political books, his political book bindings, and it took him another hour to walk us through the better known of them, not all of them, obviously.
Okay, so anyway, and as usual, by the way, I invite our viewers to post comments and to send us any questions and messages that you have, messages and questions along with the stuff we are discussing today, or something for the future streams and podcasts, ideas about guests, anything, and if you are willing to say from where you are joining us today, it would be nice as well. We're sort of started collecting guests and viewers from different cities and countries. That's really amazing to see people from all over the world among our viewers, and well, this makes us really happy. Should we talk a bit about Glagolitic?
Let's try that. I'm really excited, actually. So I can share my screen and everyone will see it, right?
Yeah, sure.
Except that you have to enable it first.
Just a moment.
So I'm really excited.
You should be able to do that now.
Yeah, so I'm really excited talking about it because just today, like a few hours ago, I went to see a celebrity manuscript, that is, one of the best known Russian manuscripts, international Russian manuscripts with a very rich history, with lots of czars seeing it in person, and the sort of thing you only see.
What about Tsarinas?
Oh, Tsarinas too. the sort of thing you only see in textbooks. and especially with this book, which never leaves its library, and it's not on permanent display there either. So unless you are a Tsar or Vladimir Putin for that matter, it's unlikely.
Which is pretty
Which is
same.
basically the same. Yeah. You're unlikely to see it. So I was excited to have this opportunity, and very fittingly, to see this book, I had to go to the Kremlin, or as I call it, an outdoor Italian architecture museum. So here I am, entering.
Nice weather there in Moscow today. As far as
Yeah. Actually, it was very beautiful today. Last time I went, it was all gray. It was something like -1, but the light was perfect. So here I am, entering a Milanese-looking castle through a very Milanese-looking tower. Here I'm going in. I'm seeing a couple more church. One church in particular, St. Basil's Cathedral, which was also built by an Italian architect. And I'm entering
some phallic symbols there as well.
Yeah. Those that one is Russian, but everything you see in the background, all these three are also Italian. So Milanese Florentine on the right, Venetian in the middle, and somebody from northern Italy on the left. Usually, when I go to the Kremlin, and I have to say, this is the central square of Moscow. But unlike the Red Square, it's you can only visit it as a tourist, even if you're a Moscowite. You have to buy a ticket. And usually you have to spend like an hour and a half early in the morning waiting in the queue to buy it. And fighting Chinese tourists to do it.
I thought digital tickets were already available there. No?
So now yes, now everything has changed.
Okay.
With the era of pandemic and lack of Chinese tourists, or any tourists for that matter, you buy a ticket in advance and there's hardly anyone there. It was a privilege seeing all this beauty, especially by myself. Here's a bit more of the Venetian church, Cathedral of Archangel. When you look at it from this side, it really looks like you're in Venice. It's typical for its time, absolutely typical. Here's a palace that could have been lifted from Ferrara, the faceted chamber. I mean, there's almost a double of it in Ferrara. And here's the church where I went. The tower on the right is called the Belfry of Ivan the Great, not Ivan the Terrible, his grandfather, and this was the tallest building in Moscow for over 500 years, no, for over 300 years. And in the lower part of this church, there was an exhibition dedicated to 1,000 years of diplomatic relationships between France and Russia. To be more precise, 1,000 years ago, a daughter of a Kievan Novgorod prince, so not Moscow prince, because Moscow was basically a glorified village at the time, but a Russian Tsar nonetheless, his daughter became first the wife of a king of France, and then a reigning queen, if not in her own right, but as a mother of an underage king. She ruled France for almost 18 years and remained a very impressive political presence afterwards. And here is the manuscript that I came to see. It's called Rhymes Gospel. It consists of two parts. The one you can see is not in Glagolitic. It's in fact in Cyrillic alphabet. And this is the earlier of two parts of the book. This is the peculiar thing. Glagolitic is the earlier script for the language, but it's the much later part of this particular book. This first half was written in 11th century and is putatively associated with Russian Queen of France, Anne of Rus, she is known in the French annals. It was until relatively recently nobody knew where it was written. It's Church Slavonic, so it could have been written anywhere in Belarus, Czech Republic, Croatia, Bulgaria, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, and all those places were named. But recently, philological analysis of the text says that it's not just any Church Slavonic, it's a Russian version of Church Slavonic. So it is an 11th century Russian book, a very, very rare thing. There's not many of them, and none of them are on permanent display anywhere in the world. So it was nice to come and see it. As you can see, there are some decorations. There's a decorated initial. There's a couple of phrases highlighted in red. And an interesting thing about it is that it was used as a coronation gospel for the French kings, at least since the late 16th century, and for a few centuries. Nobody knew neither of the scripts that it was written in, and nobody really cared, because it, as you can see here on the back of the book, sorry for the quality of the photo, it used to be covered in relics of saints and precious stones. During the French Revolution, everything was dismantled and sold, and you can only see all those holes. They're almost like bullet wounds. I find it somehow touching, I don't know. A really old book. The binding itself is 14th century probably, but we'll talk a bit about that later. So here are a couple more details. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't really read what it says, even though I know the alphabet. I mean, a word here and there maybe, but Nasha, our beast, being, but I can't read a single line.
Yeah, it's really hard to read because you can understand all the letters, but the language changed quite a bit. Well, it's a different language then.
Yeah.
It's not that it even changed. It's a different language, and Church Slavonic still exists in liturgical works, but yeah, it's so different from Russian,
and also we tend to separate words.
Yeah.
Right.
Especially without spaces between the words, it's really hard to split them. So it's almost like reading, I don't know, hieroglyphic script or something, because you cannot distinguish separate words. Well, you can try to distinguish some of them, but sometimes you don't know where you can understand where the word starts, but not where it ends, which poses a problem of sorts.
Which makes it even more impressive how it was identified as Slavic book. In 1717, Peter the Great toured Europe, and either him or somebody in his circle visited visited the church, the Reims Cathedral. Reims, by the way, is in France, like not that far from Paris. I'll show a bit later. And when they were shown this ancient, mysterious book in an unknown language, one of them read it freely and really impressed the French. So, I can't read it freely, but apparently in 1717, people still could.
It reminds me some occasions when I visited Romania and read Romanian liturgical books, which were and are sometimes written in Cyrillics, so I can easily read them even while I don't really understand most of the text. I understand some of the text, but the context is a bit far from the average stuff I usually read and hear in Romanian, so it's much harder for me to understand it than I don't know than a newspaper. But well, I can definitely read Cyrillic Romanian, and yeah, I guess it's for them it was better reading because they could understand it obviously.
Yeah. Knowing both the language and the script helps, or at least one of the things I know. So there was another document. I couldn't make a much better shot, but general shot, but I show you the details. This is a document from the court of Anna of Fruits's son, when she was no longer reigning queen, but she was still king's mother, and so she was often present at important meetings and co-signed really important documents. And one of those documents contains her signature in French using Cyrillic symbols. I don't know if you can read it. It says Anna Reina. So it uses.
Okay, Anna Reina. Okay.
Yeah. It uses ands from the Latin alphabet, but at least one letter or two letters are Cyrillics.
Yeah.
So R and R, Gulam, the big. Can you see my mouse?
Yeah.
So these two letters are definitely Cyrillic. Yeah. So it's an interesting thing.
And I guess Yot is also Cyrillic because well it definitely differs. In Anna Reina, the Y is transcribed differently in Latin. So
it just made me think about how we used to transliterate Russian with English letters in early 2000s, late 90s, when computers and then phones didn't really have an English keyboard. And this is the reverse. She's serializing French. So an interesting artifact in its own right. And also note this peculiar sign. This is a signature of her son. This is a royal cipher. So it has like organizing cross with letters and added to it on all sides. That was a very common tradition both in the East, in Russia, and in the West. So, and even in Constantinople, you can find signs like that. So, how do I show you? Yeah, here it is. So here are some details. Here is the name of her son, Philippus, and it is his cipher. Here is the date, by the way. How did I do it? Wait a second. Yeah. Here it says. So that's January of 1063. That's 63. So we know that too. Very precisely dated. And also for some reason slashed. Can you see the cross?
Yeah.
So it's not. These are not creases. This is something. Something was inserted in there. I don't know, but it's a very prominent feature of the document. By the way, here are a few mementos from Peter the Great's visit to Reims. This is a portrait done of him at the time. It's a woven portrait, and here is a wonderful memento. This is the scene of Peter the Great meeting the French king, who was like 11 at the time, and Peter the Great was 2 meters 4 centimeters. I don't know what it is in feet and inches, but it's hell of a lot. It's a head and a bit taller than me, and I really like this.
Especially knowing that the average height was lower than today, so he was a real giant.
Like 50 centimeters lower. Yeah, very impressive. And here's a medal of that occasion. It's amazing. I mean, those are state visits we don't see anymore. So this was the exhibition. This is what I saw. And now let me tell you what I didn't see, because you can only open the book on one page. They showed the part of it that is only related to Anna, so the earlier part, the 11th century part.
Okay.
And here it is. Yeah. Here is an example of it. By the way, many of the links that I'm showing will be appearing in your chat. If anyone's
yeah, I already shared the link to the Wikipedia page.
So let's look at that. Let us compare it to what we've seen before. It's clearly later. I mean, you don't even need to know what it says. You can see that it's later. Look at the shape of the letters. So spend a few seconds and let me show you why am I here? Just a second. I closed the window, sorry. Yeah, and here is the Cyrillic part. Even just looking at how they write the letters, oh no, I'm losing power. Just a second. Sorry.
yeah, we'll wait for a moment.
We can have that.
Anyway, you can definitely, even if you don't read Cyrillics and you know only of only a Latin script, you can see some similarities between Cyrillic and Latin script. But with Glagolitic script, with Glagolica, it's so absolutely different.
And yet it was born out of the heritage of Eastern alphabets, but then as a script it started developing as a part of European sphere. So this is basically an unsealed script, which for the Latin alphabet appeared only like a century, less than a century before. So this is one.
I should probably mention that, and I wrote that in the announcement of our live stream. That Glagolitic script, there's sort a scientific consensus of sorts that Glagolitic script was developed by the Saint Cyril and not the Cyrillic script, which was supposedly created by his students.
Yeah, so that is another peculiar thing. We know who. Let me show you. Let me show you the map. It's gonna get a bit easier. We know who developed Glagolitic, where and when. Let's start with where. It was right here, just 50 to 100 kilometers from Constantinople, which was the capital of the world. Here it is. So it was developed here in a wonderfully named monastery, Polychron, multi-time. Sounds like a place where Doctor Who might live. Nothing remains of the monastery. I found a few trips by Bulgarian and Croatians looking at least for something, but nothing. Not even the foundations. So it was developed in the 9th century with a very particular purpose. To come here to the Czech Republic, or the Great Moravia, as it was known, and convert the local population. So that didn't work.
Surprise.
Yeah, then their Catholics won in the end, and political machinations meant that all the agents of Constantinople had to leave, and there's hardly anything in Czech Republic of Glagolitic of that era.
Well, lucky of them that they have to live and not to die, because
yeah. Precisely. So then Glagolitic moves to Bulgaria and to Croatia, and then in very, very limited form as far as Moscow and even to the north, South Ukraine, Belarus. So that's the kind of coverage we're talking. By the way, Rhymes is here. So, the book traveled from, say, Kiev to Constantinople, to Italy, to France, and for the first time ever it traveled back to Moscow.
Well, if it ever was in Moscow, if it started its way from Kiev,
Yeah, so
we don't really know. But
so we don't really know. So anyway, at the same time, like late 9th, early 10th century, somewhere here in central Bulgaria, Cyrillics appear. And now Glagolitic is surrounded by alphabets based on Greek and Latin alphabets. So as you can imagine, it sort of took second fiddle. It was never insignificant. It spent some 600 years, maybe 700 years, being used pretty widely and being taken seriously. But surrounded by those different looking alphabets, it gradually disappeared. And I would like to tell you that story as well as I can. So it's a complicated story, but I'll try to be succinct. So first, here are the letters. Yeah. So these angular shapes are the ones you see in the Rhymes Gospel, and those round shapes are the ones that you could probably see in an earlier book like this one, Codex Zografensis. From the 9th, maybe 10th century. You can see immediately, now that looks really Middle Eastern.
I'll share the link right now so that
yeah. And if you compare these letters with these letters, it's not even immediately obvious the same language. So the change is quite significant and also very diagnostic. So you can always say if a book is earlier or later.
I never thought about it, but were the names of the letters really same for Cyrillic and Glagolitic alphabets like Azbuki, and all that stuff?
Absolutely, yeah. Here is A, and it's called Az, which means me, I.
And the order of the letters is similar?
Yeah, where there are not all letters have precise parallels, so not all sounds are covered by both alphabets. But other than that, it's the same alphabet. So in theory, you could learn to write and read it because you already know what it says. But every time I try, I forget everything in a week or two because there isn't exactly much to read in the language, in the script.
Yeah.
So if anyone has any ideas.
So returning to our one of our previous live streams where we discussed bookish objects from the new movie Dune, and I mentioned that there is this script Arabesh which is used in Star Wars fictional world. It's also just a script that used to write English words. So I guess it's pretty similar between the old Cyrillic and the Glagolitic scripts. You just can interchange the letters.
Oh yeah, and I forgot one stop on the journey of this book. So it started somewhere around Kiev or maybe southern Russia. Then at some point it traveled to Constantinople.
Yeah.
And then it got to Czech Republic, to Prague, where it was thought to have been written by a local saint living in a cave in eastern Czech Republic, so far from Prague. Prague is like the western part, so the old part, the Moravian part. And
So he added some stuff, or
no.
or is it just a legend that local people suppose that the book was written by some local person?
Yeah, local king gave it to a church or a monastery with the legend that it was written by this local saint.
Okay.
And so then it was given that amazing, now lost binding, and then Glagolitic part was added. And then somehow through Italy it got to France, where it remained. So there is no chance it was brought directly from Russia, but maybe it was. Nobody knows. That's the infuriating part about it. So this was basically the golden age for this kind of writing. It was widely spread, very impressive, very rich-looking royal books were made in it, and then it sort of fiddled away, only remaining in Croatia in wide use and in some very very Catholic contexts, which is another thing. Glagolitic was saved for the longest time by the Catholic Church, not by the Slavs themselves. And then in late 15th century, so what, 240 years after this book was written, the printing age began for the
Show us some other pages as well. There were some
yeah.
Quite nicely illuminated pages in this book.
Yeah. You're right. I should.
Anyone can use the link we shared a bit earlier and check the pages themselves, but still, it's nice to have them here on screen right now.
Yeah. Here's another one. I don't know. It looks like magic to me. I look at those symbols and I think of Tolkien.
Somehow when I see it, it seems that it turns upside down to me. I don't know why. You can definitely see with the illumination that it isn't turned upside down, but.
It also every now and then I keep trying reading it from right to left. I don't know. To me, it looks unbalanced somewhat, like Leonardo's writing, something like that. Yeah. So the printing age. Let me show you this page and just think about when it was made. 1483.
So just at the beginning of the printing age. Of the printing age in Europe, I should correct myself.
Yeah. And you can immediately see that, like all the early incunabulars, they try to look like a printed book. And when you see
like a written book, you mean?
Yeah, like a written book, yeah. And when you see a decorated version, it looks like a manuscript. It's built like a manuscript. It has the same red lines that we just saw in this book, in Ryan's Gospel. So it's clearly a part of the same tradition. And it's interesting to compare it to the early Cyrillic printing. So again, this is 1483. Now, this is the very first Cyrillic book, 1491, and it's so much worse. I mean, this don't get me wrong, this is not a masterpiece, but it's a very, very well-made book. This isn't. This is Krakow, Poland, and it looks like the whole text was cut on a board. It doesn't even look made from a metal font.
Or for any sort of movable type, yeah.
Yeah. And again, when you see a decorated version, it's. It's charming, Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad book. It's an impressive try, but it looks like a first try, like a student's work. Yeah.
Interestingly, you can see some printed Old Believers books from until 19th century or maybe even later that look like the book you're showing us right now. So with all these imperfections and looking much more like a written book, which brings a lot of confusion to viewers who are out of context, and they start thinking that
yeah, and also all those abbreviations, flying letters. It's very difficult to read. It's not a modern book. It's a manuscript in its form, and it's not just the earliest Cyrillic book. So this is 1490s, Krakow, Poland. German printer, like all of them. I mean, look at the somewhat later example. We all know what this is. This is Francisc Scrivener's Bible. We mentioned it a few times, and again, it's better. It's getting better. It's printed by someone who practiced in Italy, in Florence, in Venice. I forget. But again, it's not as impressive as this example. And this is the first book printed in Moscow, 1550s, so 70 years after the first Glagolitic printed book, and it still looks very provincial, very provincial. So Glagolitic.
Somehow there was a lot of money in Glagolitic script in the late 15th century.
Very peculiar situation, I think. A minority script used by in very restricted circumstances, but there was enough money, clearly. So I highly recommend anyone interested in this topic going to this page. It's a list of Glagolitic books on Wikipedia. It's a very hastily written page. There is it's not exhaustive, but it's a great start. I'll show you a few books, but first let's look at the dates. So this is a representative list of books in Glagolitic. So we see some very early incunabulars. 1483, 91, 93, 94. There's a 1495 book. Then we see five to six, certainly less than 10 books. Some of them in multiple editions, printed in the 16th century, and then we come to the 17th century, and it's already just textbooks. And they are aimed at priests sent to certain regions of Europe where Glagolitic is still used as a liturgical script, and it's mostly printed in Rome, because that's another thing. Look at the right column.
Yeah.
So it starts in Istria, which is part of Croatia. Then there's Venice. 2 or 3 Venetian books, just because it was a center of printing. There are a couple of books printed in Sen, which is also in Croatia. Then we see books printed in Urach. Now that's an interesting story. That's a center in South Germany aimed at proselytizing in Slavic countries. There was a South Slavic Institute founded by Roman Catholic Church, and they printed books, mostly New Testament, Gospel, Psalms, and a few textbooks. And then it's just Rome. So here is 17th century. It's again a missal, a textbook for kids, and then even later books that are already academic editions. So nobody's speaking Glagolitic in 17th and 18th century. A few people are writing it, and then just scholars know about it. So let's see some of these books. I really like this one. This is 1495. Looks very runic. I don't know. It even looks Third Reich to me, quite frankly. I, and also the font is again based on those angular letters, but it's made even more angular. It's very aggressive. I just like this the style of it. Here is the guy you should read about if you're interested about that peculiar period of Glagolitic history. Anton del Martin. He's one of those Catholic priests aiming his work at Croatia. Here's one of his books. So again, a very competent edition. It's well made. It looks professional. So you can't say it's made hastily or people didn't care. Here's another example. Early 16th century. I really like the shape of letters. The big ones. I could look at them for hours. Here you can see both versions of Glagolitic. You can see the rounder shapes, the more decorative shapes, especially these ones that look like an arc with a little top hat.
Interesting mix.
Yes, and it works visually. You can see a professional did it, and he relished in the shapes. And here you can see both Glagolitic and Latin.
And then you can see this pretty standard nerving of the lines seen in many printed books of the period, and I'm sure there is some name for it, but I don't know it. Sorry about it. If some of our viewers know how this style is called, they can add a comment down below. And by the way, as I already interrupted you, Pavel, somebody from the Canadian Guild of Bookbinders from Toronto chapter, Book Artists Guild, joined us, and so say hi to people from Canada.
Hi. We really want to talk to some of you. We've never talked to a Canadian bookbinder. We really want to. Do contact us.
I've been to Toronto 10 years ago, I think, something like that, during right after Christmas, and it was an amazing visit, and we loved it quite a lot. There was a I don't know how to call it, icy rain at the moment or something, and it was a bit surprising. But other than that, we had quite a lovely time there in Toronto and in Ontario as well. But let's return to Glagolitic script. Sorry for that interruption.
Great to know people from Canada. Hi. So this is clearly Catholic. You can see the word confessio, and you can see this thing in the bottom row, which you can see again here. Here's a textbook of Glagolitic. And we can read what it says here, because the next page, so here, look at those letters in the bottom, and now let's look at the next page. So it says v Rime, so in Rome. Yeah. And there's also this list of letters where you can see the names of the letters, and I can just imagine people from France reading this. Misliecie pokoj zemlja. So that's very helpful, clearly. So
we should probably add once again that every of this name has its meaning. Like Pavel said, as first book. First letter of the alphabet is I myself.
Yeah, and Glagolica named after this letter.
The first letter.
G. Yeah, it means Glagoli means speaking.
Speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, etc. L, this wonderful house shape.
Structure.
Yes,
Yeah.
structural letter, very structural letter. It's Ludi people, etc. So there are some cranks who interpret those letters in spiritual way. So if you
I just wanted to say that there is something hieroglyphic about these letters as well. But
yes.
okay.
Yeah. So imagine if every letter has a meaning. So words are collections of letters, and if every letter has a meaning, a word has a combined meaning of those letters. So that's a popular idea among certain mystics since the 20th century.
Well, and then there is also all sorts of numerology and all that stuff, which once again somehow became uh, popular with all these conspiracy theories, especially in the United States. This is so amazing how people try to find all the numerological meanings of the, I don't know, names of presidents and all that stuff. And well, okay,
I mean, that's an old Abrahamic tradition.
yeah, yeah,
Nothing new under the sun.
yeah.
So that's that's roughly how it ends for the printed Glagolitic, or at least widely printed Glagolitic. By the late 19th century, it only remains in a few places in Croatia. I'll talk a bit about that, and it becomes a curiosity. And there's especially a wide interest in that regard in Russia. I mentioned Nicholas the Great's visit. Here are a couple of pictures. Here's him and his wife. Speaking of the
Sorry, I'm reading the ads or something down below the photos.
Uh-oh,
And,
I don't know what to do about that.
it's just so hilarious. And,
Sorry.
yeah, how to make pickled tomatoes or something like that.
Clearly relevant. So this is Tsar Nicholas II and his wife Maria Fedorovna visited Reims in 1901, I think. This is Reims Cathedral, and I particularly like this one. It's such a shame that no photos survive. I mean, just look at it. All of Reims was covered in some kind of, what even is this? Triumphal arch? What does it say on the right, by the way? Aux apôtres de la paix, something about peace?
De la Pe- yeah, I don't know what a potter or a potter.
So it's something about peace. Please
De la
don't go
Pe-
to war with us. Let's go to war with Germany. That kind of message, I think.
You're a kind person, Pavel.
I'm a realist. So the Tsar was clearly interested in it. I don't know in which part of it. I know that he was fascinated by his predecessors. So he,
Interestingly, Potter is apostle.
oh, so it's
So
to the Tsar, apostle of the peace.
of peace,
Of
yeah,
peace.
of peace, yeah,
I see. So Nicholas
of
the
peace
second.
or of, yeah, of peace, I guess, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Nicholas visited the book, the city and the book twice in 1896 and again with his wife in 1901. He must have been fascinated by its royal associations, but also by Glagolitic, because it was becoming fashionable in certain circles as part of spiritual practice, and it
Once again, numerology and all that stuff.
yeah. And interestingly, just a couple of weeks ago, I went to an exhibition where I found another thing related to that fascination. It was this portrait of Russian poet of 1910s, 1920s, and 1930s, Remizov. And I immediately knew this was Glagolitic. the line on the top. And
Yeah.
at first I thought maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's like Armenian or Georgian, and he's Armenian or Georgian, but he's neither. It's clearly Glagolitic. I checked against the table, and it says basically nothing. It's something like Pol Pot, Kat Kot. Those are just the most stylish letters of the alphabet, I think.
Just mix and drop there to be.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I don't want to say that he didn't know Glagolitic. Quite the contrary, artists didn't know Glagolitic, but the poet himself practiced in it. He could read it and write it. This is his notebook from 1907. So this is 1920s, and he started in the before the revolution in 1907.
And the first line reads Glagolica, which is Glagolitic script, and the second line probably the same in the Glagolitic script. I wanted to say that seeing the previous picture, the portraits, if it was made in 2000s, I wouldn't be so sure when I saw it for first time that it is Glagolitic script, just because there are so many sci-fi scripts nowadays. And some of them look like something like that. Once again, returning to our discussion of June and the scripts from there, it could easily be something from this fictional universe. But if we see a picture from 100 years ago, there is almost no real choice, when you see something like that.
Yeah, here's his own student's book. Here he is, writing. I like his thoroughness, but and also I don't know if you can see in the top right angle it says Zografskayev. It's Zograf Gospel, which I showed you earlier. So he copied those letters from a facsimile of one of the earliest Glagolitic books. He wasn't just,
just writing stuff.
Show. Yeah. He knew what he was doing. And finally, let's talk about how it all ends, how it fizzles out and then gets reborn in what it is now. So let's get back to the map for a second. So Croatia, for those of you who don't know, is right here, just opposite Venice. And it was long ruled by Venice, and you can still feel Venice's influence there. But it is a separate country, it is a separate people, and it is a very, very closed-off culture. At least it used to be. Nowadays, with tourists and all that, it's not. And especially this triangle, the one opposite Venice, it's called Istria Peninsula, and this was the stronghold of Glagolitic. That's where it survived into the 20th century. Let me show you this map of that very triangle and its surroundings, showing all the Glagolitic inscriptions, books, and registers in churches. It's all over the place. And whereas in Russia you can see you can find like 4 inscriptions, 2 of them consisting of single words, and a few letters in a manuscript here and there. There are hundreds in Croatia, and they are.
And by the way, we discussed most of these inscriptions during one of our previous live streams, where we talked about one of the oldest capitals of. Russia, I don't know how to even call it, but supposed capitals.
Yeah, and it's the same region, not far from here, contains the earliest Glagolitic inscriptions still in existence on the wonderfully named island of Krk. Bashka tablets and the latest examples of it. So sorry, where was it? I can't find a document. I had a document for you. In this region you find the latest examples, and there are lots of them. I wanted to show. You should go to if you're interested in it, you should go to this page and see lots and lots of examples. So
I'll share it right now.
yeah, and this is a completely different script. So this is the script used in registers in churches and hospitals and town halls recording births and deaths and marriages. I'd never guess this is Glagolitic. It's clearly not an official script. It's very much alive. This is late 18th, early 19th century.
And the beautiful script.
Yes, and a beautiful script too. So you should go and look at it for yourself. There are dozens of examples here, as well of dozens and dozens of examples of earlier Glagolitic inscriptions. But I wanted to talk what became of this historical peculiarity. In the mid 20th century, Croatian nationalism sort of begins to appear, and by the time Croatia gets independent, they are in really dire need of national identity. So in the 90s,
of a myth.
yes. So in the 90s, they take this fact that they have most of Glagolitic inscriptions and that it survived longest and the earliest is also there. The fact they totally forgot till then and ran with it. So now you can see museums of Glagolitic, you can see some Glagolitic signage in museum like this one, and you can see this.
Monuments. Yeah.
Monuments to individual letters. And let's face it, this letter L, it was created to be made into a modern sculpture. And look at the place, and you think this is cool. Look at that one. This is letter Az, the first letter of the alphabet, or so they say. This is really nice. Here's another letter L.
And some people had some issues with Jeff Bezos rocket. Well.
Yeah, and there's a whole Glagolitic alley. There are monuments. There are books. So if you are in Croatia, it's really difficult not to encounter some Glagolitic. Although seeing originals is still difficult, but memory of it is very much alive, and there are some newspapers and some barely functioning websites where people try to write some Glagolitic, and so Maybe, who knows, Serbs somehow moved from Cyrillics to Latin, so maybe Croats will outdo them and move back to Glagolitic. That would be nice.
It would be interesting, to say the least.
So...
It would have been nice if you warned me before switching off the screen sharing, because you cut my face in half. But anyway, thanks for this for the history, for telling us the history of the script, and for some nice photos. It's as usual great to see your excursions to different museums and exhibitions. And should we move on? If anyone has any additional questions, as usual, you can post them either on YouTube, on Facebook. We stream on both these platforms, and we will probably try to answer your questions, or maybe postpone answering to them until the next time if we need to prepare. But still, you can definitely ask, post the questions over there. As usual, I'd invite you to Richard Minsky tells you, Pavel, great research. So,
Thanks. I spent every 3 minutes of the last 3 days reading about Glagolitic. I was so excited to see the book, and only yesterday I understood that almost certainly I won't see any Glagolitic inscriptions. But it was still like meeting any celebrity. You know, you pretend you're not impressed. You're very aloof, but actually you're screaming inside. That's what it was like for me.
so we also wanted to talk a bit more about the Bookman's Book Arts Fair that I attended, that I was a participant at during this past weekend, and I wanted to show some photos and talk a bit more about the fair itself and about the future and about some other fairs and so I guess we will proceed to that one. But once again, please join the crowd of our subscribers on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. You'll find all the links down below in the description, and please also check our Patreon account. The contribution of our patrons are quite crucial for our podcast. But Pavel, pick up talking for a moment, and I will switch to show you some photos and videos from Bookensbergs.
Uh, this was one of the smoother of our live streams, the one that went from the church. There were a few hiccups, but I was absolutely sure that you won't be able to stream and take interviews and film, and somehow you did all that and sold a few of your items while preparing the stream. That was impressive. Like with the left hand you were setting up our stream, and with the right hand you were selling your box corners. That was fun.
That's true. It was surprisingly smooth, and I don't know how all of it happened so nicely. But now we know that we can stream from anywhere in the world, you know, where there is an internet connection. So I'm sure we will do some interesting streams from different bookish locations, and probably from future fairs as well. So for starters, some photos. Here is how my disorganized table looked like over there. My if you can see in the right part of the right bottom corner of the screen, the next cloth was white, and my neighbor who was from the Netherlands told me that the order of the colors is wrong. And I mentioned that well, if it is right if you are if you want to see a Russian flag over there, because well, from my point of view, because the top one was white and then blue and then red. But anyway, it seems to me that currently we are following the path of shifting the colors on the flags of the countries we are living in. I mean, my wife and I, because we started with Russia with white, blue, and red, then we moved to the Netherlands where the same colors are on the flag and in a different order. And as far as I understand, Peter the Great was quite impressed by these colors, and one of the legends says that the flag that this current Russian flag comes from. It was a flag of trade fleet or something like that, as far as I remember. And the imperial Russian flag, was quite different. It was white, yellow, and black.
Yeah, and with a double-headed eagle, very German-looking thing.
Yeah. But anyway, after the Netherlands, we had to move to the United States. Also, white, blue, and red colors on the flag. We didn't move there, but moved to France. Also, white, blue, and red colors on the flag. Well, in a different order.
Only Serbia remains.
Yeah, I think there are some other countries as well. Yeah, I should check. Well, United Kingdom, by the way, also the same colors.
Okay.
I'm okay with moving to United Kingdom. But anyway, enough of flags and colors. And that's the space. That's Peterskirk, an old cathedral in the central part of Leiden, and it's not anymore used as a church for something like 50 or 70 years. It's used as a space for public events, for fairs, for exhibitions, and for concerts. And it's an absolutely amazing space. And you can go there as when there is no fair there, when no events there. You can go there as to a museum. You have to pay some small fee, but at these moments it's absolutely empty. Besides the columns and stuff on the walls. But during the fair time, obviously it's crowded with tables and with visitors. And this year was, as far as I understand, at the end of the fair, organizers told us that there were almost 1,300 visitors during the 2 days of the fair. And 2 years ago, as far as I remember, it was something like 1,800 visitors. So it's fewer than before, but considering COVID and still many restrictions to visiting Europe, and it's quite nice. And my sales were quite nice as well. So I'm very happy to have the opportunity to be there. And I'm forgetting to switch photo because I'm talking so much. Yeah, this is how it looked on early Sunday before the customers came in. It was something like at 10 o'clock, and the fair opened at 11 on Sunday. I just love the light and the space and everything. And as Pavel told us, it's quite proper to see books and bookish objects sold over there. And I guess I'll switch to a different app to show you the video, because I don't want to share the sound with you. And if Pavel once again will pick up talking, I'll switch stuff.
You also took a couple of interviews during our live stream, but I assume you had time to talk to many people while there. You certainly met Ben Elbow. You said you met. Karin, one of the organizers. There were lots of people we've talked about
Yeah.
before. Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to some people. I talked to some friends and colleagues over there, and so sorry for a bit. How you call it when the video struggles?
Laggy.
Laggy video. Yeah, it's because it was a record that's live, and the internet connection wasn't the best over there. Well, many people, and the building is quite old, not allowing radio waves to pierce through the thick walls. But anyway, if you haven't seen our live stream, you will see some images from there, and a short walkthrough of the fair. Yeah, I talked to some people, and there were quite some visitors came to the fair and told me that they found out about the fair from our live streams and from our posts on Instagram and Facebook, which is amazing. And some of them did buy some tools from me. Others didn't buy tools from me, which is also okay, because I'm happy that I was able to bring at least a couple of additional visitors to the fair. And I talked to some colleagues, got some stuff from them. at least from some of them, and I wanted to show it when the video will end, or when I stop talking, I will show you. I will switch screens and I will show you some of the objects. Yeah, we discussed. We made a couple of short interviews with Louise from Trigger Press, which is an amazing printing endeavor. Louise prints these really sarcastic and smart posters, and I have two of them. I now have two of them. I bought one of them 2 years ago and got another one from her. This time we sort of switched stuff. I also met some other printers whom I didn't know before, and unfortunately, while interviewing, we had some issues with microphone, and we'll try to do better next time. So I understand that the sound from our interviewees wasn't coming through, and I had to sort of translate what they were saying live. But oh well, at least I was able to show some objects and some stuff. As Pavel told before, we talked to Ben Elbow just a bit, and he showed us the 10 books that were the top, to consider the top books of the expandable sleep box competition. The bookbinding out of the box project has launched some time ago, and that was finalized in the last days of October. And you can go and see either the videos on the website of bookbinding out of the box, or the live stream on our YouTube channel, or on our Facebook page, where we show some of these boxes in action, and Ben talks about them, and I sort of translate it, from English into English. And yeah, once again, it's an amazing space, and it was really tiring. I almost lost my voice by the end of the second day, but I'm happy to be there. I finally start feeling that we're coming through this COVID pandemic with all the limitations. Some of the limitations are still there, but we get allowed to more and more. And I hope next year will be much better, because well, obviously everyone is tired, but I was also tired. I was just talking on during the psychotherapy earlier today that I lost so many of my routines during this these almost 2 years, and once again, I obviously am better off than many of people who had to survive in much worse conditions, but still. And I worked from home before COVID, so it's sort of not many things changed for me. There's Kiki Ben Elbel's wife over there in the video right now, and there's Ben. And but still, I lost many of my routines, visiting book markets, flea markets, all that stuff, which sort of allowed me to to continue working long hours at home, making bookbinding tools. And since we moved to France, I still haven't recovered all these routines, even while, as far as I understand, at least some of the book markets are working here. But yeah, other issues. This is some letter from France over there in the video, and I talked to the owner of the company, and I hope we'll continue our connection. He told me about some of the French fairs, and maybe I'll try to take part in some of them next year, or the year after the next year. We'll see. I'm not sure that I'm there with the language proficiency, but what I really understood during this fair, that next time I go to Leiden, I definitely need to have another person to help me, because sorry for this. It may be too much information, but during Saturday, the first time I was able to go to the restroom was at 3 p.m. and I came there at 8 in the morning. And so I was quite busy throughout all this time. So I definitely need some person to, well, firstly to help with the customers, because sometimes there were like 3 or 4 people waiting in the line while I was helping another customer. But then, well, obviously you need to have some time for lunch. You need to have some time for restroom. You need to have some time to visit the fair. Because I was able to buy a couple of things, but I wasn't really able to check most of the things that are sold there, and that's a bit upsetting. But well, next year I'll prepare better. And why I started talking about that, because maybe that's also a solution for taking part in French fairs. I can probably find a French-speaking person to help me there, and I'll be able to, to provide some information, and they will be able to talk much more than I'm able to talk in French. And just let me return to our big heads, and I will show you some.
And what's next for you? Surely you liked it so much that you have some plans for the next fair.
Yeah, yeah. But let me show some stuff first, and I will. I shared some links with you, so if you can share
Yeah.
them in the
I,
comments.
I have to say, seeing this video again, it looks so nice. The light is so good, even with that quality of video. You can see how airy and light and fun it is, and so many people. It looks like things are coming back.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like life. Yeah.
So we started with Louise Valentina from Trigger Press, and this is the print I got from her 2 years ago, and I just loved it, and I couldn't, not have it. And here is something I got from her, something we switched for this year. And Pavel definitely knows this pangram.
Yeah.
The one in
The
orange.
one, the quick brown fox. Yeah,
Yeah.
this one I know. I forget what those are called, but it's meant to contain every letter of the alphabet, right?
You have, yeah, you have the title there. It's pangram.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Louise just had to, to switch it to give it this feminist flair, I guess. And well, as my wife loves orange, and I guess she's a feminist.
And she's also quite a vixen.
And she's also quite a vixen. I thought it would be quite appropriate for me to switch for this exactly print, and well, now I have it. And then I had my neighbor, whom some of his works I showed during our live stream. I cut it away from this tour of the fair, because I cut away all the stops. But once again, you can see it in the video we have on our YouTube channel. So my neighbor makes these amazing boxes, and let me.
Is this the JJ Van Kampen?
Yeah. I didn't find him online, but he has an email, and so yeah, the box for, I don't know, some stationery, some jewelry, something like that, and he has all sorts of boxes and photo frames, and I don't know, small trays for napkins, and then my wife got this small notebook from him. And I'm not sure if he gave it to her as a present when he found out that she's my wife, or she bought it. But anyway, he was a nice person. He told me that he was an electrician engineer during his first career, and when he retired, and he decided to start bookbinding and box making boxes, and he makes some boxes with wood as well, and all of them were quite amazing. So Pavel shared, I guess, his information with you, and if you are interested, send him a message, and I'm sure you'll find something interesting among the stuff among the things that he makes. And next, there was I bought a book from Beb van Hasteren. I think it's Hasteren pronounced like that, and she also makes boxes and all these sorts of books and notebooks with different patterns. And well, as I told you before, my wife like loves orange color, so I couldn't pass by this book as well. You can find a web on Facebook, and I think she has a website. But well, you can go through, you can find her books through her Facebook account, and there are some interesting things there. Yeah, and I cannot not return to talking about Dune. We talked with Beb about her experience with Dune, and she told me that when it first came out in 1965, she was 15 or 17, something like that. So she read that book right away when it was then, and we discussed that. I can't even imagine how was it to read this book when it just came out, because it was absolutely, something new and unimaginable before. Nowadays, there is plenty of sci-fi, and it's so much harder to impress the reader. And of course, when I first read it as a teenager, as a young teenager, I was very impressed. But still, I think in 1960s it was much more astonishing experience. So it's really fun to find another hardcore Dune fan, and she told me that she watched the movie 4 times or something. So that's very impressive. And yeah, and if Pavel will share you another link for the next book fair I plan to attend, that's book fair and I think I have a leaflet somewhere here. Just give me a moment. Yeah, it's in Dutch. So it's
So in April.
It's Boekbinders België, or in French, because it's Belgium, Salon de la Relure en Belgique.
And it says Bauhaus.
Where?
Bauhaus.
Bauhaus, yeah.
Which is basically Bauhaus.
Yeah, it's a het Bauhaus. It's the name of the building where it happens, and that's an exhibition space of sorts. And yeah, early in April it was cancelled last year. It was cancelled this year because it happens in April, and they tried to move it to late autumn, but it never happened because the authorities wanted to have the building for vaccination purposes. But I was glad to see the person who is currently in charge of the fair on Boekensbeurs, and she told me that. Well, currently the plans are that the fair is happening on the 10th of April 2022, and it's sort of smaller and cozier event, and it's unlike Boekensbeurs, which is as we discussed quite a lot already. It's a fair that's organized jointly by the Society of Bookbinders of the Netherlands and the Society of Printers, Stichting Handboekbinden, and the Drukwerk in the Marge. So there are many printers there are many bookbinders there. Bookbinding fair in St. Nicholas in Belgium is more bookbinding focused event. But still, I highly recommend you to go there and to visit it if you are in the area, in Western Europe in early April. There also is a sister fair of bookbinding fair in St. Nicholas that happens in autumn in Köln. Uh,
Cologne.
uh,
Cologne.
Cologne, Köln. Yeah, okay. Any of this, I guess, it would work. But I think it didn't happen. Well, definitely didn't happen last year. I'm not sure if it happened this year. It's a bit smaller than St. Nicholas. I've been there once, and it happens in a very nice place as well. We'll see if I go there this year. I don't know yet, but yeah, we'll see. As I told, there are several book arts related fairs in France as well. I don't have a list of them for now, and I don't remember them by heart. Unfortunately, I'll have to do a bit of research. I also got an invitation from Society of Bookbinders. They have their events in August usually, and there are some classes and seminars there, so you can study some new bookbinding techniques and ideas. But there's also a trading part of this event, and I thought about going there a couple of years ago, and they sent me a message inviting me next year because it's in August. But I'm not sure how it works out now. Firstly, after Brexit, and next, I'm not a European citizen, I'm a Russian citizen, and I'll have to research visas, importing goods, working arrangements, finding a person to probably for the sales. Probably I will need to hire a local person to do the sales, because I will probably not be able to do them myself. So there are a lot of tricky things to research and find out before I can say that I'm going there. But it would be nice to be there. And yeah, so there are already some plans for the next year for bookbinding, and for bookbinding fairs, and for iBookBinding being at these fairs. I really hope to at least visit some of them and take part in others.
So I checked the Cologne fair. Thomas, I forget his name. Thomas Schmitz, who's the main organizer now, writes that it was cancelled this year. There are no plans yet for the next year, but they are organizing lots of workshops, and maybe we should talk to him too. Yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the
that's it. Yeah.
state of bookbinding for today. Once again, we didn't get to the news, but it's already 90 minutes, a bit more than 90 minutes. We started a bit later, so I guess we will finish right away. I hope you liked the things we talked about and showed you today. Once again, please check the links below, check our Patreon account, and probably become a member of our Patreon community. Pledges start with only $1, £1, or €1 per month, depending on your location. Or obviously you can pledge more. We would be even happier for that. There are some perks, like discounts at iBookBinding shop for the larger pledges. But anyway, we're happy with any pledge, and each new member helps us to bring to you our podcast. And we have, as usual, a lot of plans, and some of these plans will demand additional money. So yeah, please join, or at least, I don't know, share the links, like the videos on Facebook and YouTube. Ring the bell for the future podcast episodes. As I told earlier, later this week I'm posting the second part of our podcast with Jay Tanner, bookbinding, and young book conservator from the United States. It was really interesting to get this perspective of a person who is in the process of starting to build and building his career as a book conservator, and finding his place in the American museum world and world of book conservation. It's a bit different perspective compared to almost everything we had before, because we had many more professionals who have years and years of experience. So please check the first part of our talk with Jay, and you'll be able to watch the second part pretty soon. There will be some other videos posted before the end of the week as well. So stay tuned, and see you next time. I guess that's it for today, Pavel. Yeah.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks
Bye.
everyone. Thanks everyone. See you next time, and we'll stay for a moment while I'm switching off the stream.
I remember the part where Jay told us just what it takes to become a conservator. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
getting an education, getting his